And the Syrian government and multiple international analysts denounced that the Cooperation Council of the Gulf monarchies is attempting to erode the strategic relationship between Syria and Iran by accusing Tehran of interference. Our correspondent Hisham Wannous has the story.
The Cooperation Council of the Gulf oil monarchies, at the conclusion of its 42nd summit in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, December 14, reaffirmed the commitment to the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Syria. However, the Council said it was against regional interference in the internal affairs of Damascus, which, in its opinion, seeks to provoke a demographic change in the Arab country. This was an indirect aim at Iran, seeking to provoke a rift between Damascus and allied Tehran, according to experts. The latest talks that took place between the Gulf monarchies and Iran did not produce the results expected by the Gulf Cooperation Council states, which is why they are trying to exert political pressure on the Persian nation by issuing a communique pointing to Iran as an interfering force seeking to provoke a demographic change in Syria, and thus trying to mobilize the Arab and Syrian people of Sunni religion tendency, in particular against Iran. At the same time, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, defended before the cross-border entry of humanitarian aid into Syria, the Security Council, without the approval of Damascus, a mechanism that both government and citizens condemn, as in addition to violating the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country, it is used to provide logistical, military, and financial support to terrorist gangs and Kurdish separatist militias under the false excuse of guaranteeing necessities to Syrians. The Secretary General of the United Nations, instead of acting in the service of agendas of countries hostile to Syria, should have clarified the reason why Syria needs humanitarian aid and denounce that the countries that impose this terrorist war on Syria are the ones who are really responsible for starving the Syrian people. We really hope that he would have the courage to denounce these states and not to violate international law with this statement. Meanwhile, although open to the normalization of relations with other Arab nations, Damascus rejects any pretension that these rapprochements be in exchange for distancing from its allies of the resistance bloc, including Iran, a position endorsed by the Syrian people who in turn denounce the use of the United Nations as a platform to politicize their humanitarian case in the service of Western plans against their country.
Hisham Wannous, Telesur, Damascus, Syria.